Chat GPT has got some competition. Google has finally responded to the phenomenon that is Chat GPT by releasing their own chat-based AI called Bard, B-A-R-D. Now, Google has been long considered one of the pioneers of machine learning, artificial intelligence, but they were not the first movers in really capturing the hearts and minds of the public. That honor belonged to OpenAI when they released ChatGPT. So now Google is playing catch up and they released Bard. So in today's video, I'm going to look at both of them side by side, kind of give you guys a review on what I think about each. So the first question I asked actually was, I actually said my Yeti doesn't work. Now Yeti is my microphone. I have a microphone, it's called a Yeti. I've been having issues, it's not working. So the first thing I did is I typed my Yeti does not work in Bard. And here's what it said. Here are some things you can try if your Blue Yeti does not work. Check if your Blue Yeti is properly connected to your computer, update your Blue Yeti driver, check if your microphone is muted, run the audio troubleshooter in Windows, restart your computer. This is pretty good. Now I will point out that I tried this maybe an hour ago and I said my Yeti doesn't work. And the response was, I'm an AI and I can't tell you how to fix hardware. But now it's actually giving me the answer. So I guess it's learning as we go along. Maybe it went into the database and found the answer to this. I typed the same thing in Chat GPT, and here's what Chat GPT said. I'm sorry to hear your Yeti microphone is not working. Here are a few troubleshooting steps you can follow to try to resolve the issue. Check your connections. Ensure the USB cable is properly connected to both your computer and the Yeti microphone. Try using different USB cable. Check your computer settings. It gives me the path to check my computer settings. Update drivers. Adjust your Yeti settings. So if I were to look at these two just side by side, ChatGPT definitely gave me a more thorough answer. Now, some people could argue that it's better to be succinct, and I agree. I don't like to have unnecessary words if they're not needed, but none of these words seem unnecessary, and it sort of responded a little closer to how a human being would respond, right? It started off by saying, sorry you had these issues, and here's what I think you should do. Write me an article about the future of cryptocurrency. So I'm starting that and go over there to ChatGPT and do the same thing. Write me an article about the future of cryptocurrency. All right. Now, by the way, I'm using GPT-4, which should be fine. Oh, here we go. Here's the article. Bard, when you ask it a question, it processes and gives you the full answer. ChatGPT, you actually see it writing the answer as it's coming up with it, right? So I would say initially I preferred ChatGPT because of that, but then when I was using ChatGPT for a lot of coding, a lot of times it would write and then it would get to a certain point and it would just stop and it wouldn't finish what it's doing. So that actually got very annoying. So in that aspect, I kind of like the way Bard is doing it, where it waits till it gets the whole answer and it just provides you the whole answer, whereas ChatGPT is writing the answer line by line, and a lot of times it actually stops midway without finishing its thought. So here is the article. Here it is from Bard, and let's see what ChatGPT. See, ChatGPT is still writing. So there you go. ChatGPT wrote a full article, gave you the title, gave you the introduction, broke it down. Bard never gave me the title, so Bard didn't try to put this in a format that I could just copy and paste it right away with the title, with the intro, but it did, write a pretty good article as well. So they both wrote pretty good articles. Now, Bard gave me this source here at the bottom, which makes me think, what does that mean? Did Bard get all this information from this one web page and just basically take that one web page and summarize information from that web page? And maybe that's what ChatGPT does as well. It just doesn't show us what it's doing. So I'm not gonna hold that against Bard. Let's keep going. Okay, let's look at cloud infrastructure here. So give me the code to create a simple web server in AWS that is connected to a blob storage. So something simple, just to test them both. I'm going to copy it here. There we go. Ask the question, go over there, ask the question. Now, one thing I noticed about AWS, about the Bard one, is there's a microphone there, so I can actually talk to the Bard AI. I can't do that in Chat GPT, so I like that. So here we go. So here's the code to create a sample web server at AWS that's connected to a blob storage. Is this JSON code you gave me? Is this JSON code? So now I'm asking it a question, what language is being used here? No, this is not JSON code. JSON is a data interchange. The code above is Python. Okay, yep. And now let's go over to Chat GPT. It's doing the same thing. It's giving me the code in Python. This time around, it's telling me it's giving me the code in Python. Whereas Bard just assumed I would know. So just little things like this. Little things like this, I think ChatGPT is better. It's definitely slower, but it's typing up the whole thing. And like I said, with Bard, you don't type, it just processes and then it shows you, right? And then one of the problems with ChatGPT I've seen is when it's printing this answer right here, sometimes along the way it will just stop and it won't finish, so the code will be incomplete. And I run into that a lot. I like the way ChatGPT handles code better than Bard. I like that there's some color coordination, you know where there's a function, you know where there's a variable, you know where it's a string. That's kind of important, so it's like you're looking at a real development environment. Whereas in Bard, it's like you're just looking at a text file. So, and to copy it, you have to select it. You have to select the whole thing and copy it. Whereas in Bard, they have a little copy code button at the top. So it's definitely coder friendly. ChatGPT is more coder friendly than Bard. The only issue that you're running with ChatGPT is it won't sometimes not complete the code. It'll probably run out of processing power or something. If you really have a really long piece of code that you're trying to tell it to run, it might stop in the middle. But whenever that's happened, I have found that you just copy the last part of the code, paste it in there, and it will just complete what it stopped. So I still prefer ChatGPT there. Let's see. How do I create a report in Tenable.io that lets me know if the vulnerabilities have been remediated? Okay. So you saw this time I said it and it typed it. So I love that. I love that about Bard. That's something ChatGPT does not have, and that's pretty amazing. So hit that. Let's see whether it will answer. It's gonna think. And there you go, it gives you the steps. To create a report in Tenable.io, go to reports page, there we go. Let me ask the same question of ChatGPT, and in ChatGPT it's typing it up. Okay, let me summarize here my thoughts. If you're looking for speed, it's obvious right now that Bard is faster. If you don't like typing up your questions with Bard, you don't have to. You could just ask the question with your voice. It will take voice to text, and then you just hit enter, and it will give you the answer. If you are looking for something that's a little more conversational, a chat AI that gives you more detail, is more conversational, I think ChatGPT is better. I think ChatGPT is coder friendly. Just looking at the development environment that it's using, looking at the format that it presents the code to you, allows you to copy and paste the code and color coordinates the code. All of that I think is better with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, in my opinion, understands questions even when you haven't asked it, and it's something that I don't think Bard might be getting up to speed on. Now, let me give you an example. Well, the Yeti example was a good example, even though it changed. When I first opened Bard, I said, how do I fix my Yeti? And it didn't know, it actually said I'm an AI, I don't fix equipment. I asked the same thing to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT initially knew, okay, you're talking about a Yeti microphone, and went out and figured it out. I did the same thing when I was working with data. So I had like these CSV files, these Excel files that had data, and I would just copy and paste a snippet of the data into Chat GPT because I wanted to manipulate the data, but I wanted Chat GPT first to know what the data was. When I pasted it into Chat GPT will just take the information and say, okay, now I understand you have this data, it has all these columns, and in these columns it has this. So it's almost like Chat GPT was telling me, okay, I have taken in your data and I understand your data now. So then later I could go back to Chat GPT and say, hey, that data that I gave you, can you run a moving average on that? Can you run a median on that? Like, it understands that. When I did the same thing in Bard, it took the data and assumed I was asking it how to write a code that would generate the data. I wasn't asking it that. So what that tells me is that ChatGPT is doing more of what a human being would do. So far, at least I think these things are constantly learning and constantly getting better. But I find that with ChatGPT, it is incredibly good at answering my questions without me even writing it correctly, I could put in wrong spellings. I might not even really say what I'm trying to do. And I could just paste in something and it will just assume, and whatever it assumes is usually the right thing of what I'm trying to do. I could paste in an error and it will say, oh, this is the error from this code you posted before. This is why. It just figures things out a lot better than Bard to me. But Bard has the advantages of being way faster. ChatGPT can be really slow. I don't like that. Bard has the advantage of being able to talk to it. And this is really just the beta of Bard. It's going to continuously improve. And this is a very, very good start for them. So who knows? They might take over because that speed thing is an issue. I think ChatGPT is actually getting slower. I think it's because a lot of people are using it. But all in all, the future is going to be amazing. AI is going to take over the world and we're not going to have anything to do. Anyway, thanks for watching. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.